Happy Friday night, degenerates, and welcome to a very special live edition of the Undefeated Post-Weigh-In Show, brought to you by Superbook Sports on Pub Sports Radio, the best damn sports betting MMA show of the week on the net. Undefeated, never missed a read, not on this show, not a single one, not ever. Welcome into the game, everybody. We just got done watching the live ceremonial weigh-ins from Perth, and because of that, I'm staying my ass up late, bringing you guys all the content we can as quick as we can. I was not expecting to be up this late tonight. I had no idea the weigh-ins were going to be all the way at the end of the night. So I appreciate you all hanging out with me. If you haven't seen the show before, you know the drill. Actually, I messed that up. If you have seen the show before, you know the drill. If you haven't seen the show before, what we do is we take every single little bit of information we've gathered throughout the week, we put them in a blender, and then we put them all together to try to make some good little bets here at the end of the week using the information we see on the scales. We watch the fighters, we look for wobbles, we look for dehydration, we look for people that are just a little bit angry or maybe taking their liquids and their juices and fluids up on the scales with them because they have a panic rehydration needing to set in. And we look at maybe if we can fade those people. Maybe we can make a little extra money going against the people that we had a tough time on the scales today. There's a lot to unpack today. Today was a good face-off and a good weigh-in. And of course, since we're going live, there's going to be a little bit of chat interaction. So maybe a little bit longer of a show tonight than the usual post-weigh-in where I just rattle everything off. What's up, everybody? If you'll do me a favor, hit the like button if you haven't already. I'd appreciate it. My guy Drew in the chat shouting out the Josh Emmett beard. I wish I could like grow it out and actually like show up on screen with the the fire red ginger beard, throw you all for a loop. That'd be pretty freaking hilarious. PJ Rivera, what is going on? I like some of the things you're saying. We will get to the main event, obviously, a little bit later. Colby, what's going on, my guy? Appreciate you. Chris in the chat, the California conservative. We've got Josh Locks, my guy, nonstop Philly, who's been everywhere this week. Davvesh, Anthony G. Hope everybody's doing real well. And you know what, Andrew? That's fair. That's fair. It's not that late. I've got a young daughter, though, so bedtime is like 8:30 for me. So, you know, I'm getting old. What can we say? All right. So the first fight of the night we're going to go ahead and take a look at here. You know, I should have like prepped some graphics or something for you guys. I didn't even think about it, so my bad. We've got Elvis Brenner taking on Zubaira Tukhugov. Brenner came in 155.5. Tukhugov missed weight, 157.5. You got to be kidding me. Bro moves up a weight class. He's going full Anthony Rumble Johnson on us. Like, he can't make 145, but he's missing by a pound. They give him an extra 10, and he still can't make weight. Like, what is going on with this guy? Brenner moved real well. Gave a good flex on the scale. Gave a solid roar when he was up there. Little Piotr Jan-ish, where the roar wasn't overly impressive, but, you know, points for trying. And Zubaira Tukhugov, on the other hand, man, he looked soft. I mean, we've seen Zuby before, and yeah, he's got 10 extra pounds on him. That's maybe not, you know, his natural weight class and stuff like that, but he did not look good up there. Doesn't look like he took this fight seriously at all. I know it was a last-minute adjustment, and he moved up, but I don't know. He just looked off to me a little bit. All smells from Zubaira Tukhugov at the face-off. Really weird to me. Like, he's not taking this fight seriously at all. And frankly, guys, like, I don't know if you watch any other sports or anything like that, but the minus 500, the minus 600 that cracks your parlay, it always comes from the team that's not taking the underdog seriously. You know what I mean? It always comes from the team that no one thinks could ever possibly lose. It's because they're looking past somebody. And this is giving me super looking past Brenner vibes the way that Zubaira Tukhugov is playing this. And Elvis, on the other hand, ready to go. And I mean, this is a guy, they both fight at 145 naturally, but Elvis kind of moved up to 155. He had like a catch weight and then a 155 fight. So this is his like second fight in a row up a little bit bigger. He's a bit more naturally larger than Zubaira Tukhugov is. So I mean, slight edge Elvis Brenner based on what I'm seeing on the face-offs. And the total here set at 2.5. I have been at the under 2.5 all week on this one. It was plus 105 over on Superbook Sports. It's now plus 100. My guy Andrew, if you haven't checked out the Sharp Action Report, make sure you check that out. It's also here in the archives on Pub Sports Radio. But my guy Andrew told us that they did actually get a really big bet in on the under 2.5. So they moved that line. That's the way I've been looking. I like it. The way Brenner fights, I think that makes some sense. And even if he's just like completely outclassed by Zubaira Tukhugov, then Tukhugov probably finishes him. So I'm probably looking under. But the way Zuby looked on the scales and the way he's kind of acting about this thing, I mean, taking a stab on Brenner inside the distance or that sub prop at like 12-1, I frankly don't hate it. Taking a roll of dice on the underdog first fight of the night doesn't seem half that bad to me. Yeah, California saying he's got a hedge out of Zuby. Yeah, everybody parlayed Zuby. He's sitting at like minus 600 at this point. Everybody and their mother parlayed Zubaira Tukhugov. And I told everybody at the beginning of the week, like, would I be surprised at all if he goofed around and lost a split decision in this spot? Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. So I'm not sure what to expect here from this fight. Sorry, my head's getting a little hot in that damn thing. So, yeah, I mean, it's probably under for me if I'm gonna play it, and then it's dog or pass now officially from like a side standpoint. My guy Mark shouting out, smash the like, thank you, appreciate it. Let's go. All right, second fight that we want to talk about is Blake Bilder taking on Shane Young. Bilder made 146, Shane Young 145.5. Big old flex from Blake Bilder. This guy, I mean, like, we're talking like he did the rippling flex, like when he flexes and then flexes again, and you can see like the striations in the muscle tighten. Like, this guy is strong. He looked very, very good up there. Did the old gorilla chest pound thing on his way off the scales. He looks ready to go. Shane Young, absolutely jacked. I mean, honestly, he looked great on the scales. I can't take a dang thing away from Shane Young. He looked fantastic up there today. And then when they went to the face-offs, he was rocking the war paint. Excellent touch, sticking the tongue out. I can't do it. So this was a great face-off. I mean, both these guys are really ready to go here. They size up extremely well. This is another spot where I'm looking under. First two fights of the night, both of them, I would be looking at the under. Superbook Sports did have this under, I think, at a minus 110 all week, and now it looks like it's moved ever so slightly to the over. So we're looking at a minus 115 on the over 2.5 now. Blake Bilder has officially moved to a plus 120 here as an underdog, and that is something that I'm interested in. Like, I've been kind of leaning dog or pass basically the entire week at this point, and the wider that line gets, the more I'm interested. I kind of like Blake. I know that he eats punches with his face, and then that's just kind of his style. He starts slow, he eats punches, he wears you down, and then he takes your back, and then he taps you out. Like, oh, Philly, I know. I've got it up on the other screen over here. Heartbreaking. They controlled every single second of this overtime. They really did. And then they made one single mistake, and nobody came back to help out the goalie. Like, they total breakaway. No one helps out the goalie after Ingram had a spectacular night in net, and we lose an OT. That's a heartbreaker. Connor Bedard, man. We got to get Connor Bedard. Hopefully we're winning the sweepstakes by losing the game like this. Yeah, so leaning dog, leaning under. I get everybody making the case for Shane. I totally get it. He's got the UFC level experience, training at a really good gym, solid prospect, or at least we thought he was. But his wins and losses in hindsight just aren't that great. So it's dog or pass for me. Folks, full open transparency with you guys. I haven't made a single bet yet this week. I actually had somebody just hit me up on Instagram, and they're like, Clint, where do we find the bets? And I'm like, there aren't any. Like, right now, I don't have a single bet. Like, after we jump off this stream, I'm going to have to go lock some stuff in because I have yet to move on anything this fight. This card is so treacherous, in my opinion. Like, you look at these names and the favorites that are minus 300 plus, like, this is a card that's just stacked full of landmines. I know everyone's probably going to parlay all the favorites. And if the run of favorites that we have been on for the last, year and a half or so continues, it's going to look like the easiest card in hindsight. Everyone's just going to be like, oh, bro, like, easiest card ever to make money on. You just parlay everybody. And you're maybe in hindsight you'll be right, but I'm not ready to trust some of these favorites here at over 3-1 price tags. So, I'm gonna put my card together here tonight, but I've been very very careful this week. Loma Lookboonmee taking on Elise Reed. Both women made 115 and a half. Loma, no issues. Elise Reed, no problem. Had a little bit of lobster face going. Honestly, these two are not the most physically imposing. They're also not women that stray very much from their normal size or stature. So I don't really have a whole lot to report on them. Elise Reed does have the slight height advantage. We knew that coming in. Loma's always shorter than her opponents. But honestly, guys, I really thought that the size advantage would be a little bit more pronounced in this spot. I thought Elise Reed would be taller. She's not. It's not that bad. Both women obviously looking very intense. This was a good face-off. Loma, I think, is the rightful favorite in this spot, and she's like the one fighter on the card this week that I'm like, I'm going to parlay Loma. Like, I know for a fact I'm going to parlay Loma. I like her here, and I actually think I'm going to take a sprinkle on her by submission when I do my Action Network prop squad pick for the week. I think I'm going to go Loma Lookboonmee by submission just because she has those trip takedowns. She's got those dumps, and we know Elise Reed makes all the wrong moves on the ground, all the mistakes. When Loma unleashes elbows from the top position, Elise Reed will squirm and roll and give up her back. And we've seen Loma Lookboonmee in that backpack position before. She's been working on her submissions. I just think that's 14-1 or so on that shot. I don't hate it. Probably Loma by decision, obviously. So you just take a small little sprinkle there on Loma by sub. Next up, Jack Jenkins taking on Don Shainis. One of those favorites I'm talking about here. 145 and a half for Jenkins, 146 for Don Shainis. No problem at all for Jack Jenkins. Big smile, jogging off the scale. Like, he looked great up there today. Don Shainis needed the box of shame. A lot of people needed the box of shame today, folks. Like, this was maybe the most used box of shame I think I've ever seen. But he got it. He made it. Absolutely freaking jacked. Like, John Shainis is thick. Gave a good, strong flex. These guys went nose to nose. Like, Don Shainis stepped in close, and they were having a great stare down. I can't wait to see this fight. I think Don Shainis is much better than we've seen from him. He is extremely reliant on the wrestling. And Jack Jenkins, he showed a real good sprawl and brawl game his last fight, but I'm not sure if that's because it was Contender Series and his opponent just wasn't that good. If Don Shainis gets him to the ground once or twice, that guy's ground and pound is sick. Like, I wouldn't count out the underdog entirely in this spot, but one of the spots we did get, sharp action notified for us over at Superbook Sports was somebody came in and laid it with Jack Jenkins. I'm not trusting him at minus 340 personally. I guess I'm seeing minus 340 here in Arizona. It looks like Superbook over at Vegas, I think he said they were all the way up to minus 400. Woof. And it's like, this is a guy coming off Contender Series. So I just do not trust that price tag personally. I can't do it. He's definitely one that I would mark as a potential bed shitter, potential parlay buster. We'll see what happens. What's going on, Tybo James? How you doing? Thank you for coming on to the show. Hope everybody's having a great time. Holy shit, we got over 100 live viewers already. What's up? I didn't even notice that we had cracked the 100 viewer mark. Do us a favor. Smash the like button if you haven't already. Get in here in the chat. Let me know who your favorite bet is for tomorrow. And let me know if you saw something on the face-offs here, or the stare downs, or the weigh-ins that you think needs to be mentioned. Because, more eyes, the better. Jamie Mullarkey taking on Francisco Prado in the next fight here. Mullarkey made 155 on the dot. Prado made 154 and a half. And Jamie Mullarkey went full Diaz. Diaz face intensifies. Like, this guy, stone cold up on the scales today. No issues. Look great. Like what I saw from Jamie Mullarkey on the scales today. Prado gave the one big arm flex, and definitely is the attraction for this fight. Kid looked good. Like, let's be honest here. Like, look clean, look good, fresh haircut, got the little shave slice and everything. I would totally do that, except, like, I'm missing the requisite materials for it. This was another great face-off. Both guys were super into this stare down. Jamie got amped up. He's pounding his chest. He's at home. He's in his backyard. Why wouldn't you be? I like this fight a lot. I mean, Jamie Mullarkey's sitting at minus 280 at this point, and Francisco Prado is a plus 240 underdog with a shiny undefeated record. I got to lean with Jamie Mullarkey here in this spot. I mean, this is a favorite where I do think I would want to go to war with Jamie Mullarkey. He's fought a much higher level of competition. but he always gets hurt. He's another one of these guys that blocks punches with his face, and he always gets hurt. Having an undefeated power striker, explosive kid like Francisco Prado taking on this kind of a fighter just screams at me. They're looking for that highlight reel finish. I like the under. Under 2.5, minus 145 over on Superbook Sports right now. And honestly, that price is much better, I feel like, than it should be. It was interesting to me because it got down to like minus 160, and then it jumped all the way back up to minus 145 today. So I'm getting kind of a break on that price tag. I felt bad about missing like the minus 150 when it was sitting at minus 160. And I see other outlets out there have it all the way at like minus 170, minus 175 now. So we're getting a nice little break on that price tag over at Superbook Sports. It seems like the under is a very popular pick here for this fight. But frankly, I get it. Like I see both guys having serious paths to finishing this fight. Nate MMA saying, I think Brown looks scared of Jack. I mean, maybe we'll get there. We will get there. That's definitely going to be a good one. We've got Scotty coming in asking who's fighting on short notice. And the one I mentioned earlier was Elvis Brenner. He was coming in on short notice as a replacement. And that's why the fight with Zubaira Tuhugov, I think that's why they moved it up to 155. I'm pretty sure the scheduled fight was at 145 earlier in the week. And Nonstop Philly is definitely a fan here of Mullarkey. Love it. And he's calling for Crute here. I kind of feeling with you there, actually. So the next fight is going to be Kleydson Rodriguez taking on Shannon Ross. Another miss. Very surprising here. 127 pounds for Kleydson Rodriguez. Kid's coming off like a long layoff, makes his UFC debut, gets busted by my guy CJ Vergara, takes some time off. I love everything I'm hearing, and then comes in and misses weight. Like, you got to think maybe that's just mismanagement. Maybe he's just rusty. He's a big kid, big frame for the weight class. So not surprising. He might end up having to move up one of these days, but he was shredded. I mean, he looked really slim, but he moved well enough coming out of the box of shame on the scale, and he looked fine at the ceremonial weigh-in. So I'm not too worried about it. I don't know that he necessarily... It's kind of in the middle. Like, some of these guys, when they cut down and they miss by like a half pound or 1 pound, like, you can tell they really tried and they like killed themselves to try to make weight, and then it didn't go their way. And you can kind of see that some of them are drained and some of them don't really perform as well after that kind of a bad cut. Others, they cut it off short. They miss by 2 pounds, something like that. And they try to give themselves a bit of an advantage by not cutting the extra weights. Maybe Zubaira. So you just never know. You never know coming into this thing. But honestly, the way he moved, the way he looked, I think Rodriguez is fine. Shannon Ross, 125.5. This guy looked physically fantastic. I mean, he did this thing. He went up and he did 1, 2, 5. And then, like, I don't know. I want to know what the 1, 2, 5 means. If somebody knows what Shannon Ross, is that his, like, is he a Diaz bro? Is that the area code? Like, I want to know if anybody knows what the 1, 2, 5 thing was. I want to know about it. But these guys had to get split up. Like, Rodriguez came in and straight up, like, he like chucked an elbow in the face of Shannon Ross, which I don't think he was that fiery. Like, I'm just going off memory here. I'm going to have to look back at like the CJ Vergara fight, but I don't think he was quite that amped up when he faced off with CJ Vergara. So I'm not sure if somebody maybe pissed him off. It seemed like Ross kind of cooled off after that and like tried to like calm things down. And I think Rodriguez gave him a rat, which he gave him a little stuffed animal. And I don't know if Ross just maybe didn't get the message, but if you're calling somebody a rat, like, there's no way we're cool. You know what I mean? There's no way we're cool if you're giving me a rat and laughing at me like that. So I'm not sure what that was about, but Ross didn't seem too bothered by it. He accepted the rat gift and then like told everybody we're cool. Like, let's go ahead and do the face off. And they had to be split up. I mean, it was crazy. I was not expecting that for this one, but Ross looks like he's in fantastic shape. Kleydson Rodriguez looks like he's in amazing shape, and he looks like he's ready to go. This is another one where I've been looking at violence all week. I am not sold 1,000% on Kleydson Rodriguez. I see he's got the upside. He's got the youth. He's got the frame. He's got the size. Like, everything is there. I just got to see it. You got to show it to me because we haven't seen him actually perform up to that potential yet. Shannon Ross is a guy that comes forward, bites down on the mouthpiece, and goes full Homer Simpson. He'll take everything you've got to offer and then tries to bang back at you and hopes he can finish you. So because of the way these guys fight, I'm looking at under 2.5. I was already looking at under 2.5, and the way they faced off, I'm absolutely looking at under 2.5. Because if you get a pissed off Rodriguez coming into this fight, looking for blood, looking for vengeance for whatever happened to him. That means more violence to me. Like, I want people that are explosive and angry and wanting to kill each other out there. So definitely reinforces my underlook. That's probably a bet that I'm going to end up making. The one thing is I'm not sold on Rodríguez, so I'm not laying the minus 320 money line personally. If you want to look at this one, I mean, the knockout prop probably isn't so bad. Plus 270, like, it seems like something he can definitely pull off. And then Shannon Ross by knockout at plus 700. Frankly, if you're taking a dart throw, I don't hate that, because the way he looked on Contender Series, he was about to KO his man in that fight, and he just doesn't stop. Like, he comes forward and keeps swinging until he's either unconscious or he clips you with something. So both guys by finish, both guys by knockout, under 2.5. Don't mind it. Don't mind it at all. And Devesh just saying 125 pounds. Duh. Did I say something wrong? Did I say something other than flyweight? Okay. If I messed up on something and said the wrong time, I do apologize. We got Joel Ramblin coming in. What a time to be alive. Thanks for joining the show. Mark is calling the brown by sub. Looking for it. Okay. I can dig it. I think that's you got a good price tag for it. That's for damn sure. Melsik Baghdasaryan coming in here. Oh, 125. Okay. He was calling the weight. Wow. That's one of those ones that seems just so obvious in hindsight. I was so confused watching that. I can't even like play this off like I thought it was something else or something. No, like, okay. Right over the top. Oh my goodness. Okay, completely missed that one. Good call, guys. Good call. Melsik Baghdasaryan taking on Joshua Culibao. Both guys made 146 pounds. Melsik had this like blank, soulless stare on the scale today, and he gave a slight wobble while he was waiting for them to call his weight. Now, I don't know if that was because he was in like that like slumped backwards pose that he was doing. Like, I don't know if he was just chill and relaxed, and that's why he was kind of swaying just a little bit. But it almost seemed like he had a tough cut to me. Joshua Culibao, on the other hand, he needed the box of shame, but this was the single most happy and excitable box of shame I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, this guy's head is like poking up behind the box. He's like up there smiling and like waving at people that are out in the crowd. No issues at all. It seems like he just like knew he wanted to cut the absolute minimum amount of weight or something, because he had no problems on the scale whatsoever. And when they go to the face-offs, same thing. Josh is having fun. He's taking selfies, and Melsik just kept that same weird little pose he's doing, acting super chill, acting super cool. And Josh just kept on like inching closer to him. It was like one of those little things. He's just like messing with him in like the smallest way possible. He just kept getting closer and closer and closer. Finally, Melsik snaps, grabs him by the neck, and like launches him backwards. Wasn't there something about like fighters are not allowed to touch each other at face-offs anymore? Like, didn't Dana come out and say, like, if you touch your opponent, you're pulled from the card? Not that I'm advocating for that. I love this fight. I really want to see this fight, but it's just funny to me how that's become kind of a thing of the past really quickly here. Props to Joshua Culibao. I mean, if we're talking about the scorecard so far, it's 1-0 Culibao. He got in Melsik's head already, and he seems like he's the much more relaxed party in this spot. Man, I can't wait for this fight. This is my fight of the night. Like, I think this is going to be an absolute banger. I think these boys are going to slug it out until somebody falls over. I think Melsik is probably going to have more success early. Culibao is going to have to show off that toughness, that durability, eat a couple of big power shots, and then fight his way back in. As Melsik kind of slows down throughout the fight, Josh is going to need to punch his way back into this fight, mix in the grappling offense, make him sweat with the level changes. Even if he's not going to get them, just make Melsik think about it, wear him down. I think this is another really close fight. Like, both guys obviously could end it. So if you want to go KO, if you want to go under, you're getting plus 145. It seems almost trappy to me. And the fact that these guys have both been more than capable of hanging in there in some of the toughest spots we've seen. I mean, I'm not betting an over. I promise you, I'm not laying minus 165 on this over. But at the same time, like, I don't know, man, the split decision props. I wouldn't be surprised one bit if this was a greasy split decision. It's these ones where these guys, the judges and the officials, don't know what the hell to do because everyone's just slinging leather left and right. And look at this. Let's see here. Let's pull up the split numbers. Let's see what they are here. So if you pick your man, both sides are 9-1 to win by split. So like if you want to say Josh wins by split, it's plus 900. If you want to say Culibao wins by split, it's 9-1. If you just want to say fight goes to a split, so you don't care who gets their hand raised, that's 5-1. I don't mind, frankly, I don't mind that, because if it goes to a split, I've got a real hard time seeing either of these guys like really pulling away. You'd hope that maybe one judge sees it for the other guy. I kind of like that. Let's see what the chat's saying here on this one, though. Tommy's saying Melsik wanted Culibao to smell his breath so bad. Tommy, you're ridiculous, my guy. Brendan calling for Culibao. Colby's calling for Culibao. Yeah, man. All right. And then Melsik was absolutely chomping on that gum. He's not the only one that pulled the gum move this week, but he had the biggest chomp I think we have ever seen. Devesh calling for Melsik by knockout. Okay, like I said, hey, I'm not going to argue against the knockout. I think both these guys are absolutely tough enough to survive the knockout, but both of them are definitely skilled enough to get the knockout. I think this is a rightful coin flip, folks. Like, I want to bet Culibao. I'm on the Culibao side. I don't think I can. Like, I think you can argue so strongly for both of these guys that it's a rightful coin flip. The bookie said, here you go, minus 110. You guys figure it out. And the lines bounced back and forth all week, and we're settling on minus 110. We're just going to stay there. So I agree. There's the good and the bad versions of Fireball and popcorn, right? Like, go grab your drink, go grab your snack. No. This is the good one. You want to do your shot and then sit down with the popcorn so you don't miss a second of this fight. That's this kind of Fireball and popcorn fight. I guess we need to maybe come up with a second term for that to distinguish between them, because usually Fireball and popcorn is get the hell out of there. We don't really care about that fight. That's not this. You want to see this fight. Next up, Modestas Bukauskas taking on Tyson Pedro. Both guys made 206. Not a problem for Modestas. Good flex on the scales today. Tyson Pedro, no issues. Maybe the fastest guy on and off the scale here today. When they face off, I'll be honest, Modestas looked a little bit bigger, but two notes, he was wearing shoes and Pedro was doing the I won't look at you head down thing. So because of that, like, they might actually be like the exact same size. Melsik might be, Modestas might be just like a little bit taller than Tyson Pedro, but if anything, it's not a lot. Man, I talked about the over 1.5 in this fight a lot this week, and I'm kind of getting cold feet. That was one that I really thought that I was going to make, was the over 1.5 at minus 135. I think this fight finishes. I just think the way Modestas moves in the big cage, he's going to just be running away the whole fight. Like, you've got Tyson Pedro who comes forward, straight line, on a beat the whole time. He throws those front kicks at your abs, and Modestas is always skirting side to side. So like, those two styles, I can just envision Tyson Pedro like chasing Modestas for 12 minutes until somebody finally gets caught. You know what I mean? Obviously, both these guys have big explosive power. Both these guys could catch each other literally at any point in time. So this fight could go under. And in hindsight, it might look like a stupid 1.5. Why did they give us plus money? Of course, it was going to end early. But I feel like it might get extended. I feel like Modestas' plan is probably get Tyson Pedro into round 2 or round 3, where he's not as comfortable, where he doesn't have as much energy. That's really Modestas' MO. If he controls the fight, it's going to go deeper. He just isn't a round 1 knockout kind of guy, unless he one punches people. And we've seen Tyson Pedro actually kind of gets chin checked and checks out, right? He can take some pops. So if he can stand a big shot or two, I think it's going to take more than that for Modestas to get him out of there. Frankly, the over 1.5 seems like my spot if I'm going to bet it. And Modestas by decision at plus 525 seems like a half decent play to me. And hold on to your butts, everybody. Modestas by split is 20-1. So you're telling me we're going to have a fight where one guy is probably landing more effectively while moving backwards the entire time and looking like he's running away, but he is slightly more effective, versus the guy who's got the forward pressure and who's being the aggressor. And if it goes 15 minutes, the judges are going to know exactly who wins that. Man, 20-1 doesn't sound bad for a sprinkle. Just saying. Genova saying resist the sprinkle. I don't know if I can. You know what? I'm sorry. For a 20-1, tinfoil hat comes back on for the 20-1 call. I'm thinking over 1.5. I'm thinking Bukauskas. I've wanted to fade Tyson Pedro forever, folks. I have wanted to fade Tyson Pedro absolutely forever. I just don't know if Modestas is like the guy to do it. 2-1, like I'd like a little bit more. 20-1, I can be talked into a sprinkle for 20-1. So that's the way I'm looking on that fight. I would not at all be shocked if Tyson Pedro bulldozes this man the way he's done before. But we've seen Modestas, even in the fights before he took the break. Oh no, what have I done? Even before he took the break from the UFC. Modestas was dragging these guys late. Like, you look, the perfect example is the fight where he got his knee blown out, right? The Khalil Roundtree fight. He took some big shots from Khalil early, some big power shots. And Khalil's a big hitter. And it looked like Modestas was working his way back into that fight. He was taking over in round 2. He was getting the range. He was getting the timing, but he just wasn't putting his opponent away. And if his knee doesn't get absolutely destroyed by Khalil Roundtree, that fight keeps going, and it probably goes into the 3rd round at that point. So, like, just looking at the pattern, he goes to Cage Warriors and he goes a full 25 minutes and then he finishes a guy in the 4th round. Like, it just, Modestas and overs seem to work, even though he's a big guy in this fight. Looks like an under. I feel like it's actually an over. So we'll see. Again, no bet. Like, that's what I've been thinking basically all week, but no bet yet. So we'll see if I get there or not. I'm going to have to lock my card in this evening. Next up, we got Jimmy Crute taking on Alonzo Menifield. Crute came in at 204.5. Alonzo Menifield 206. No tinfoil hat for this one, folks. Don't need it at all. Crute looked fantastic. Great shape, emotionless, slow walk up to the scale today. Alonzo Menifield, you guys know the deal. Dude's an absolute tank. Like, I've always said it, he's the UFC's freak show fighter. Like, this man is just built like nothing we've ever seen before. Solid muscle. When they get up to the ceremonial weigh-ins, like, Jimmy Crute took just a minute, like, to sit back, took a deep breath, looked around. I mean, like, he is really, like, taking in the moment for this fight. He's taking this extremely seriously, but throughout all of it, he's just remaining very calm and very leveled. When they face off, Crute has a significant size advantage on Alonzo Menifield. And frankly, folks, I didn't realize he was going to be that much bigger. Like, they said, you look at the UFC stats site, and it's Jimmy Crute 6'2", Alonzo Menifield 6 foot. Frankly, I'm not convinced Menifield is 6 foot. I mean, he might be 5'10" or something like that. But Jimmy Crute looked like he was a good 4 inches taller than Alonzo Menifield. The size difference was extremely noticeable. Extremely noticeable. And this is maybe the public spot of the week. I talked about it with my guy, Andrew, on the Sharp app, or the Sharp Report. And Crute is getting a lot of love. They had a Sharp action player come in earlier in the week and play Alonzo Menifield, but they've taken so much action on Crute that they continued to move the line the other way anyway. He bet Menifield again. The line continued to move the other way. So even though there's been Sharp action on Alonzo Menifield, the line has not stopped chugging the opposite direction. And frankly, Alonzo feels to me like the mush dog of the week. I'm going to say it. I'm just going to say it. Everybody I know is on Alonzo Menifield. Everybody's talking about the big power. Everybody's talking about how Jimmy Crute is, untrustworthy, and he's chinny and he's hittable. Like, that's all true. That's all true. But he's also extremely young. He's also a guy that's 26 years old after having a ton of UFC experience. He's an 8-fight UFC veteran. And he finally went off and took a break. Took a year off, training with Rob Whittaker, one of the highest IQ fighters in the game. I really feel like this is a showcase spot for Jimmy Crute. And they're giving him Alonzo freaking Menifield. Now, he's coming off of back-to-back knockout wins. So right now, Menifield's got all the hype in the world. He's got everybody on him because he's been cracking people. But he's got a size disadvantage against a primary grappler who has a 75% takedown accuracy, shooting 4.87 takedowns per 15 minutes. And let's just look at the resume of Alonzo Menifield. Misha Serkinov, the ghost of Misha Serkinov. Askar Mozarov, the biggest fraud in UFC history. He's got a loss to my boy Willie Knight, which, frankly, that doesn't age well right now. Ed Short Fuse Herman, the ghost of Ed Short Fuse Herman, Fabio Charant, who is no longer with the organization. He Von Flewed that man, for God's sake. He lost to OSP. He lost to Devin Clark. Neither of those are good losses, in my opinion, because those guys really set the bar at 205. If you're losing to them, you are not an adequate fighter in this weight class. Now, the win against Paul Craig long ago, back in 2019, that one has aged really well because Paul Craig has become a fan favorite. But if you guys remember, Paul Craig threw the third spinning back fist in a row, like in that fight, and got caught with a big punch coming in. We all know Paul Craig is chinny. He's always been chinny, but you can't be chinny and throw 3 spinning back fists in a row, especially against Alonzo Menifield. So that's one that, like, even though the name looks good, I'm like, that's not what that was. Vinicius Moreira, the chinniest man to ever be signed by the UFC. And then the names of 2 people on Dana White's Contender Series who have been forgotten by time at this point. That's the resume of Alonzo Menifield, literally scraping the absolute bottom of 205. And Mark, I'm right there with you. Could not believe it when I realized Crute was only 26. The kid's got so much more room to grow. And especially if he uses that size advantage and comes in with a grapple-heavy game plan, I don't see what's to stop him from mauling Alonzo Menifield in this spot. So, yeah, I think I'm going to end up on Crute in one way or another. I think, Brandon, with the idea here, Crute, in my opinion, will have higher fight IQ, and if it extends, he'll win. But I'm on the Alonzo power side. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, if Alonzo catches him early, obviously that's the move. But I think the longer this fight goes on, the more it's going to be in Jimmy Crute's favor. And I think he gets the win. I mean, minus 190 is probably a higher price tag than I want to pay for. I think about it like Shark Tank. If you guys ever watch Shark Tank, one of my favorite shows of all time, the people come in and they're like, we value our company at like $50 billion. And they're like, what do you got in sales? And they're like, well, we sold 500K this last year. Like, you don't have 50 billion in sales. Your company's not worth 50 billion in sales. But they're like, oh, but we project it. You project it, and it's going to be 50 billion in 2 years. And that's kind of what this feels like for Jimmy Crute. We are projecting him to be a minus 200 favorite in this spot. He hasn't earned that minus 200 favorite, but we are projecting that after a year-long layoff, this 26-year-old kid training with elite partners is going to be a minus 200 favorite. And frankly, I might plug my nose and take the plunge. I'm going to pull a Mr. Wonderful here and make him a deal that just absolutely roasts him, and I make filthy money coming off the back end of it. That's my plan. I'm going full Shark Tank on Jimmy Crute. D, what's up, my guy? Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me. How's everybody doing? 171 live viewers. What's up, people? How's everybody doing on a Friday night? I should have broke out the fireball. It's too late now, but I should have broke out the fireball. I'm going to drink some tomorrow, though. I promise you that. Everybody hit that like button for me for the people's main event. Parker Porter taking on Justin Tafa. Parker Porter, 264 pounds. Tafa, 266, tipping the damn scales. This is the exact opposite of the women's MMA fight, but it's also the same. These guys don't change. Like, I have no comment on the physicality of Parker Porter or Justin Tafa. There are some big old flabby heavyweight boys, and you love to see it. Tafa actually has a pretty significant height advantage here in this spot. But again, Parker's always that short, squat, wide, like, he is a big boy. So it's not really a surprise that his opponent is taller than him. But Tafa, yeah, I was a little bit surprised at how much taller he was. I thought they were going to be a little bit more nose to nose. And you know what? The comments are already lighting up. We've got Asher on the Tafa gang. We got Nonstop Philly on Parker Porter. Team Porker is all over on Twitter, and he's been taking the money. He was down to plus 105 at a little bit there. Now he's all the way back up to plus 110. So slight, friction here. They finally hit that point where the Tafa money is coming back the other direction. But Parker Porter opened up. He was like plus 125 or plus 130, I think, earlier in the week. And this really does seem like the other Civil War spot for the week. We got another vote here for Tafa. Like, everybody's got an opinion on this one. And if you listen to my Monday show, I basically told you guys I was going to fade myself. I was like, I'm right there with everybody else. I think Parker Porter is too big of a dog here. I think he's getting a little disrespected. But then I kind of pumped my brakes and I was like, you know what, though? This is another spot where even though he's got the experience edge, Tafa's bigger, Tafa's faster, Tafa hits harder, he is younger. So like a 37-year-old Parker Porter who couldn't bust a grape, he's got to get it to the ground, but he doesn't have any wrestling. Like that doesn't seem like a great recipe here against Justin Tafa. But would it shock me if we get a sloppy heavyweight split decision? No, it would not. Not even a little bit, because that's how Parker Porter tends to fight. If his fights get extended, he has to get it done with volume. And if he can't get it done with volume, yeah, I mean, Asher's saying Tafa Gang knockout plus 170. I don't hate it. I'll be honest with you. I don't hate it. It could happen. Parker Porter has been clipped and knocked out before. And if you're going to see somebody like Tafa turn that corner, this is the time, right? Like after a skid, after a long layoff, after the opportunity to grow a little bit, this would be the time. So I'm going to pick Tafa. I'm going to be on the Tafa Gang here. I don't think I'm going to put my money on it, though. I don't think I'm going to bet this fight. I will say as a pick, though, I think Tafa probably wins. Don't be shocked if Tafa by KO is in my little degenerate Hail Mary sprinkle here going into the weekend. That's the plan. All right, everybody. Real quick, we've got 3 more fights to talk about. Housekeeping items. This is Pub Sports Radio. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. We do free pick'em contests here at Pub Sports Radio. Go to pubsportsradio.com and you can sign up. We give away cash prizes. We've got an annual leaderboard. We're keeping tabs on who wins and who loses every week. Pick your fighter, your round, your method. Come hang out and play with us. We are going to have a companion live stream on Saturday for these fights where we do live betting. We do breakdowns leading up to the fights. You got the whole crew for Pub Sports Radio hanging with us. So if you've got nothing else going on, or if you're watching, especially if you've got a laptop or something nearby, come hang out. It's a fun time. And you got nothing but gamblers and degenerates and MMA fans in the chat section. I have shout out to the Sharp app. They've been hanging out with me. I'm doing content for them somewhat. And I have links to the Sharp app Discord. If you check out my Twitter, these are guys that have like tons. Absolutely. You know what? I don't have time to do the whole pitch right now because it would take too long and everybody would tune out. But seriously, check out the Sharp app. They're awesome. Follow them on social media. I'm handling some of their promotional stuff. Then you want to check out Spectation Sports, promo code DieHard. We will be having events coming up soon. Regional Scene MMA with betting lines for you guys. So check them out. And let's get into these last couple of spots. Oh, one more thing. I'm sorry. I forgot. One more thing. If you guys like Prize Picks, there's a new dog in town that's very similar to Prize Picks. I tweeted it out earlier today. It's called No House Advantage. I have a $100 match deposit code. So check out my Twitter at DieHard MMA Pod. If you want to use that, go to No House Advantage and use promo code DieHard for a deposit, first deposit. If you've signed up already, obviously it doesn't work, but first deposit match of up to $100. And it's a lot like Prize Picks. You know, with the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday, you can get passing yards, rushing yards, like all the props and shit like that, stuff that may not be at like normal books. So check that out. We have Bets, Profits, and Clintus. Are you going to be on Pub Sports Live Bet Watch Show this week? That is a great question, Bet Profit, because I was on the last one where we stayed up until freaking 2 a.m. I don't know that I'm going to make it on to this one. I'm going to be on dad duty tomorrow night, so I might be like dual screening Peppa Pig and the UFC card, so I might not make it to this one. Fingers crossed. If I can make an appearance, I will try to get on there for at least a couple of fights. Matt coming in with the heavy action. Culibao going to smash. I like it. All right, everybody. Last couple of fights. Like I said, do me a favor and throw me that like. Randy Rude Boy Brown taking on Jack Della Maddalena. Both guys made 171 pounds. Randy Brown, another member of the Box of Shame clan this week, absolutely shredded. I mean, he looked great. He made weight. It's all good. No issues. Jack Della, he also looked good. He also looked fantastic. Randy, huge height and reach advantage. I mean, this is one of those ones, though, no surprise, right? Like, we all know Randy Brown. Every single time Randy Brown gets up there, we know he's going to have a height and reach advantage. Both men seem extremely confident. This was a friendly face-off after they got done with the stare down. And I'll be honest with you guys, this is one of those ones that scares me because I'm like, I'm picking Jack Della to win. I'm with everybody else. I think Jack Della wins. I think he finds the body of Randy Brown. I think eventually he goes high, and we've seen Randy clipped and wobbled. It seems like a spot where they want the new stud to get a backyard win, but minus 330. Whew. I don't think I can get there at minus 330. That's too wide for me when it comes to betting. Now, if you want to do your just win parlay where you don't care about the number and you just want your man to get his hand raised, Randy Brown is a dangerous opponent to look past. He could be the man who breaks the 8-leg parlay this week. But I'm picking Jack Della. I do think Jack Della wins. I do think Jack Della finds the chin and knocks him out. There's a very good argument for Randy Brown by submission. Randy Brown has some slick submissions, those long, lanky arms. He can find his way to chokes, and we have seen Jack Della stick his head into those opportunities before. It's happened. It's happened a lot. And you can get like 10 or 12 to 1 on Randy Brown by sub right now. The under 2.5 at -140. I've talked about unders basically this whole card, folks. I think violence is not a bad strategy this week, and that's probably the strategy that I'm going to employ. But under 2.5 at -140 doesn't seem like a bad bet. You're getting the knockout prop for Jack Della at like -120. Why wouldn't you pay 20 more cents and get both fighters included in that? That's one of those spots that just makes sense to me. Even if you like Jack Della by knockout, you're not paying that much more to go fight doesn't go the distance or under 2.5. And if your man loses, you've got an opportunity to still cash a ticket. Big shout out here to Adrian. What's going on, Adrian? Is that you? Like, every profile pictures are such a lie. Like, nobody ever has like real profile pictures, but damn, bro, like if that's you, holy shit, you keep up the good work. Thank you so much, Adrian. I very much appreciate you and definitely appreciate the dono. All right. Mike saying Randy Brown worth a sprinkle. Abso-freaking-lutely. All right, here we go. Mark saying shout out to Dad Duty. That's what's up. Oh, Gordon, TMC, what's going on? You guys are always messing with me. If you got keep your damn screen names the same. Like if you're one on Twitter, don't be something different on Instagram. I'm just messing with you. It's always funny when people introduce me as their alts. I'm like, I would have never had any idea. You're talking like you know me. I actually do know you. I just have no idea that I know you. All right. Co-main event time, everybody. Yair Rodríguez taking on Josh freaking Emmett. 145 pounds for both men. Shout out to Emmett for my use of the beard there. Love that one. No issues whatsoever for Yair Rodríguez. He looked fantastic on the scales today. Give a solid flex. His abs are stupid. I mean, like, Yair Rodríguez's abs are absolutely unreal. Josh Emmett, though, well, my boy was sucked out. If you guys have seen the screen grabs where they like pulled him aside to do the interviews for like the official UFC show, dear God, like his cheeks are like, I can't even get my face that sucked out. You could see like you can see every bone in his skull. He looked a lot like King Leoric from Diablo. If any of you are old enough to have played any of the Diablo games, you know King Leoric because he's like literally just a skeleton, but he's got like a gigantic beard. That's what Josh Emmett reminds me of. And he was hydrating immediately after getting on the scales. Those are one of the signs I'm talking to you guys about. This is a bad weight cut if I've ever seen one, but he made it. He survived. My guy is 37 years old, making 145 like it's nothing. You know it's just going to get rough the older that you get. So not too surprising. And if there's one man alive who I can really like count on to push through that kind of abuse, it's probably a guy like Josh Emmett. This was a great face-off. You know, it's funny. They did the ceremonial, not the ceremonial, the pre-fight press conference a day or so ago, and they always do the over-the-shoulder camera view. And for whatever reason, they put the tall guy on the side of the camera. So it really made the height differences for the main and the co-main event look drastically different from what they are. There are height differences, but they're not like that video looks like. Yair Rodríguez, obviously tall, lanky versus short and tanky. Ha! We got Josh Emmett coming in here in this spot, a little bit disrespected. This line's been ping-ponging around all week, folks. Yair Rodríguez is sitting at -180 right now. Emmett at +155. I mean, Yair shot all the way up to -200 at a certain point here just the last couple of days. And then there was some serious pushback. Josh Emmett got hit when he got up to 170. I think this is about that spot, right? Like in sports betting, these numbers mean something. There's a threshold when you can afford the favorite, and there's a threshold when you think you've got value on the underdog. Sharps out there, people with deep pockets, they think Josh Emmett, anything over +155, +160 is too much. That's when the dog is live. That's the price tag you want. So they're buying it at that spot. I think that makes sense. I think in this spot, Yair Rodríguez is a rightful favorite. He's got the slight strength of schedule advantage. And honestly, his style is a big advantage in this fight in the large cage. Josh Emmett has that wrestling in his back pocket, but frankly, he never uses it. So if he's going to come forward and he's going to kickbox with a guy like Yair Rodríguez, don't get me wrong, he can absolutely win a kickboxing fight with Yair Rodríguez. He can. The dude has massive power and wins all the spectacular exchanges because he's the one landing heavier, even if he gets slightly outstruck. But he can also put up 140 significant strikes in a fight. He has no problem. His cardio holds somehow doing all that. Josh Emmett's a freak of nature. So this is going to be a competitive fight if it's on the feet. Yair Rodriguez is improving in his submission game. And Josh Emmett, if he goes to that grappling, like, we've seen that be the Achilles heel of your Yair Rodriguez. Like, I cannot get the Frankie Edgar L out of my head. Got absolutely big brothered by a guy. They were trying to get Yair Rodriguez over Frankie Edgar. That was right before the cliff. That was right before Frankie Edgar fell off the cliff. The UFC timed it wrong by like 6 months. They wanted Yair Rodriguez to get a win over Frankie Edgar in that spot, and he came up short. And we haven't really seen anybody expose that weakness in Yair's game since then. So, yeah, I mean, we gotta admit that that's an opportunity for Josh Emmett. Whether or not he goes to it, though, I doubt he does, frankly, because he never seems to go to it ever anymore. Total set at 4.5. The over is -140. The under is +120. I probably like this under. Now, I did check in with Andrew. He did say that all the money is on the under. So you hate to be part of the mooing crowd that's just like going along with the same thought process. That's never a sharp way to approach betting. But I can't really get that out of my head. Like, if these guys go to war for a 25-minute fight, I got to feel like somebody at some point gets clipped, whether it's Josh Emmett being old and being injured and not being able to keep up with the young gun, or whether it's Yair just being spectacular and doing what he does. If it's Emmett imposing the grappling, if it's Yair showing off those submission chops, like, there's so many ways these guys can finish each other. And we've seen them both finish. That's the thing. So even though they're incredibly tough, both of them, we've seen them both finished in their respective fights. So it's not out of the question for one of these guys to do something spectacular. And there's a title on the line. I really expect Josh Emmett to leave it all out there. He's 37 years old. He's been fighting for gold his entire career. It looked like the UFC was never even going to give him the opportunity, and he finally got it. It's finally here. Emmett's got his shot. I expect him to leave it all in the cage trying to get that belt strapped around his waist. And if he does that, that's going to also open openings for Yair Rodriguez to counter and to hit him with big shots in return, or maybe to catch him in something that he doesn't see coming. So yeah, violence for me. Under 4.5, +120. That was a +125, I think, earlier in the week. So it's tipped down just a little bit there. And I'm pulling hard for Emmett. It sucks because, like, the analytical brain is telling me that Yair Rodriguez wins this fight, but the heart is all Emmett. So I'm picking Yair Rodriguez. I'm rooting my ass off for Emmett. And if I bet anything, it's going to be Emmett, because there's no way I'm betting against what I'm rooting for. I just can't do it. There's people out there that are professional gamblers, that are professional bettors, that will bet on exactly what they think wins them money, and they can put their heart to the side. That's not me. That's never been me. I can't do it. And the one time you try to do it, that's when your team wins, and then you're pissed because you lost money. So I'm not doing it. I can't do it. Shout out my guy Josh Locks in the chat for the $20 dono. Thank you very much, Josh. I appreciate you. PJ saying, if Yair can't stop the takedowns, Emmett all the way, as he won't go away. Yeah, I think something like that probably makes some sense. Mark saying this fight has split decision written all over it. Josh is saying Emmett is the lock of the week. He's winning. Good freaking luck. I definitely hope so. Definitely hope so. Okay, getting caught up here, getting caught up, rolling through it. You know what I'm saying? You loathe the Yair. I do. I'm sorry. I just can't stand him. It's the attitude, man. I was kind of like, I recognize the star power. I recognize the entertainment value, but I mean, like, the whole eye poke situation with Jeremy Stevens, and then the way he like shoved Bisbing afterwards, like, he's just a dick. I can't take it. I can handle people that are like, you know, different from me or think differently from me. I really am empathetic. I can get from your perspective and look at things a different lens than my own. But when you're just an asshole, I'm like, no, no, can't do it. So main event time, folks. Here we go. Let's go. Okay, Steven, I'm sorry. You said came here for your advice. Please let me know what to do. Let's see here. Oh my God. He says MMA Guru is chasing me through my hotel. I'm sorry. This is like, I swear, are you on like Impractical Jokers or something? There's going to be like a selfie cam He's in my chat. Like, instead of calling 911 or something, he's in my stream asking for help as he's like sprinting down the hallway. All right, I'm sorry that hit my funny bone. I've been watching the new season of Impractical Jokers. It's coming too easy right now for me. Main event time, everybody. Islam Makhachev taking on Alexander Volkanovski. Islam made 155 on the dot. Volkanovski 154.5. Obviously, Volkanovski, no issues whatsoever here in this one. He did not have any problem because he's got the 10 extra pounds to work with, but boy, did he look filled out. Volkanovski, being like the short, wide type of fighter, no problem making 155. Looked pretty dang good doing it. And Islam, he looked a little rough. He's another member of the Box of Shame crew. He absolutely needed the Box of Shame. And you know who you are. Somebody in the chat said, okay, and PJ's popping up right now to say it. Not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, but Islam may not have made weight. Scale didn't stop. Even if he knew he needed everything to make weight, he might just win it anyway. And PJ, I could not agree more. Could not agree more. Folks, Khabib missed weight in the Gaethje fight. Tinfoil Hot is square back on the head. Khabib straight up missed weight for the Gaethje fight. And just like what happened here with Islam, he needed the Box of Shame. And that thing was doing this. If anybody's ever done weigh-ins before, UFC or otherwise, if you've been to a wrestling or a jiu-jitsu meet competition-wise of your own, the rule is you have to let it come to a stop. Now, sometimes if it's still like doing this, but you can tell it's like right within that little grace period, they're like, okay, close enough, you got it. But this one was like straight up wobbling. Like, they did not let that thing settle whatsoever, and they called 155 for Islam. There was no way in hell they were letting this fight get canceled. Same thing with Khabib's last fight against Justin Gaethje. There was no way in hell, knowing that their biggest star was going to go out there and potentially hang it up after a win. They're not going to let that fight not happen. They're not going to say he missed weight by a half pound and compromise him by making him cut. Lower level fighters, guys like Zubair Tukhugov, get the fuck out of here. Of course they'll make them do that. Not Islam, not Khabib. I'm right there with you, PJ. I absolutely think that Islam Makhachev probably missed weight on this one, but they gave him the break. He got 155. He probably was 155.5. It probably wasn't egregious. But yeah, he probably got a little bit of a break from the weigh-ins today. This was a very intense face-off. I'm sure you all watched it. I mean, Alexander Volkanovski locked eyes, crazy eyes style with Islam and did not break. Absolutely did not budge from that position. It was a spectacular face-off. These guys are both so hungry and so ready to go. You know, one thing that I want to talk about that I actually had not even considered until just today. I've broken this fight down. Folks, I've done so many shows this week. I've done like 6 MMA shows this week, including like the Prediction Strike show where we talk about like long-term investment and stuff. And I've not thought about this. These weigh-ins being so late are going to mess with people's rehydration, because usually the actual weigh-ins are 9 a.m., 8 a.m., something like that. And then the ceremonials are 3 p.m., 4 p.m. in the afternoon. And then the fight is a full 24 hours after the ceremonials. The ceremonials were late tonight. Not by a lot, just by a little bit. The fights are going to be a full 24 hours after the ceremonials. But the weigh-ins were right before. They're losing like 8 hours of rest and rehydration time. That is a big gamble. For any of these people that missed weight, for any of these fighters that had a tough weight cut, that extra hours could mean a difference. Now, obviously, we are rolling the dice, figuring out which ones had bad weight cuts, how that will affect them, and which ones are having trouble reloading. I'm just saying it's something that bears mentioning, that if you have 8 less hours than normal to rehydrate than you're used to, that could be a problem. I've said it all week. I want to be on the Volkanovski side. My heart is with Volkanovski. I'm rooting my ass off for Volkanovski. I don't think I can get there with a bet. Some of the sharpest people I know are on Alexander Volkanovski, and it makes sense. You are getting the pound-for-pound king at 3-1 odds. There's never been a better underdog in the history of betting MMA than the literal pound-for-pound king at plus odds. But there's weight classes for a reason. There's weight classes for a damn reason. And Islam is a dude that is freaking huge at 155. It takes everything he's got to get down to 155. And on top of that, the wrestling situation, you can't learn enough wrestling to contend with these Russian monsters in 1 or 2 fight camps. I mean, Volkanovski, he's been a guy that's been under my radar basically his entire UFC career. I could never figure out how he kept doing what he was doing, how he kept finding ways to win fights. He's not a guy I've had a good run with, historically speaking, picking his fights. So maybe the fact that I'm picking Islam Makhachev to win this thing means I'm wrong and we're going to get a stellar upset come Saturday. And I hope that's true. But I just have a hard time seeing eventually the size and the wrestling and the pressure get to Alexander Volkanovski. Eventually, Islam Makhachev is going to get him down. Eventually, Islam Makhachev is going to get into a top position. Now, I will credit Volkanovski with his ability to roll, with his ability to buck, with his ability to move. And as a bigger guy, I've been in the gym rolling with smaller guys like that. They're hard to hold down. They are really tough to hold down. Just because their arms are shorter and stockier than yours, there's a lot less spots to like hook and grab onto, and they can push off the ground easier because they're closer to it. Like it's just these little minimal things that makes them so hard for big, long, lanky ass, ape arm guys like myself to hang on to them. Now, Islam probably, not probably, he's obviously a much better grappler than I am. He's going to have answers to those kinds of positions and those kinds of moves, but I can see Volkanovski defending some of these takedowns. I can see Volkanovski squirming out of some of these positions. I can see Volkanovski getting back up to his feet. I think this fight's going to go over. I know a lot of people are talking about how Islam Makhachev is just, absolute killer now. He's a finisher. He's wrecking everybody. If I'm going to put my faith in Alexander Volkanovski, even just a little bit, it's the fact that he can make it 15 minutes with Islam Makhachev. We've seen Islam get extended before by fighters like Thiago Moises. I think someone like Volkanovski can pull that off also. If I'm going to bet the main event, the only thing I'm looking at is the over 2.5. Now, the over 2.5 is minus 160 at this point, so it's a little bit chalkier than I would like. I think that's probably the move for me. Betting line-wise, if you want to... Guys, okay, here's the thing. A lot of people like to do, big crazy-ass parlays. I do too. Everybody does. Everyone's going to want to anchor those parlays on Islam and then hedge out on Alexander Volkanovski, right? Like that's the move. It's an easy spot to hedge out. You're getting 3-1 on your money. Why don't you make a middle for yourself instead? Now, MMA, you don't get middles, right? Because there's no point spread. So it's not like you can lay minus 1.5 and then get plus 7.5 and find like that window to win both sides. Do it with the total. Don't anchor your parlays on Islam Makhachev. If you've got a book that offers alternative totals, which a lot of them these days do. Now, if you're betting in person, obviously this is not going to work because they'll give you just the one number. But if you've got a place that lets you do alternative totals, anchor your parlay on the over 1.5. If your parlay gets all the way to the end and you're looking at an over 1.5, come back with fight doesn't go the distance. You've locked up 4 rounds of action that if the fight ends anywhere after 1.5, you win both your hedge bet and your massive freaking parlay. Because with the money lines, it's win-lose, right? Like either Islam wins or Volkanovski wins. The hedge makes sure you win money, but one of those bets is going to lose. If you do it with the total instead, you're giving yourself the option to actually take home both bags. That's your little gemstone of knowledge for the day. That's the idea. So if you're going to do the anchoring parlay thing, maybe go with that move instead of going with the money line. But there we go, folks. That is the undefeated post weigh-in show. I am picking Islam Makhachev. I am rooting my ass off for Alexander Volkanovski. I think I like the over 2.5. I am picking Yair Rodriguez. I am rooting my ass off for Josh Emmett. Maybe betting the under 4.5 at plus 120. I'm picking Jack Della. If anything, I would be betting Della. I don't like how wide the line is. The under 2.5 at minus 145 is tempting. Picking Tafa. No thoughts really on the total. Picking Crute. Might get involved with him somehow. Picking... am I actually going to pick Modestas? I might actually pick Modestas. Maybe this is the spot where I just like take the nuts out and set them on the table. I might actually pick Modestas, but I'm picking the over 1.5 for that fight. I'm on Team Culibao. I like him there in that spot. Probably the over, not touching that total. I'll pick Kleydson Rodriguez, but under 2.5 is more my style. I'm definitely playing the under 2.5. Not really gonna doubt Shannon Ross in this spot. I got a weird feeling about that fight. Picking Jamie Mullarkey, another one I don't want to lay that kind of price tag on. Picking the under for that one as well, and it's back down to minus 150. By the way, it was minus 145 when we started the show, so it's moving back down. I probably need to get on that one as soon as we log off here. I will pick Jack Jenkins, another favorite. I don't want that big of a price tag on, and I think it's a 1.5, so it's tricky. I think I like the over 1.5 for that one. Loma Luke Boonmay, like her a lot. Sub Sprinkle, baby. That's the one. That's the one. That's the ticket right there. Blake Builder, I will pick as the short underdog. And I actually think under 2.5 for that one as well. It could go all 15, obviously, especially if there's a lot of grappling involved. But I think Blake finds his way to a sub, or Shane finds his chin, and it ends one way or another. And am I going to just sack up and pick Elvis Brenner? Maybe I will. Fuck. I don't know if I can do that. I am not laying minus 600 on Zubaira Tukhugov, but he probably wins. He probably hangs on for dear life and gets the nod for the split decision because, young brother Islam is on the card with him and he gets the nod anyway. But under 2.5 plus 100 seems interesting. I guess Tukhugov, maybe inside the distance on Elvis Brenner is more the way to look. That's the thought. Folks, thank you all so much for sticking with me here for the Undefeated Post Weigh-In Show. We got over 200 live viewers tonight. This was a damn good time. Next time we do this, I'm bringing the bottle of Fireball. I promise you. We'll do some shots and get into some trouble here on the show tonight. So thank you guys all for chilling with me. Thank you, Mark. Glad you were able to make the first show. My guy MMA Jesus saying Jack Della is a lock. All right, everybody. Hey, you guys know the deal. Bet gambly. Fuck. I haven't even had anything to drink. Bet responsibly. Bet legally. Make sure you're taking proper precautions when you gamble. If you're out there putting money on these fights, even if you're listening to an expert, even if you're paying for picks, understand that you as a grown-ass human being are placing your money on something, and it is a gamble. If you have a 70% favorite, that means you're losing that bet 30% of the time. So nothing is a lock, folks. I hope you crush your bets. I hope you crush your action. Get out there, make some serious freaking money, but make sure you do it responsibly. Make sure you don't gamble with more money than you can afford to lose. And let's just have some damn fun watching the best freaking sport on the planet. That's the Undefeated Post Weigh-In Show, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. I'll try to jump on that live stream at some point. But as always, we're back on Monday for the Die Hard MMA podcast right here on Pub Sports Radio. Mwah, mwah. Love you guys. Let's roll.